Imagine waking up after a long time feeling a surge of life energy. Your body is weightless, your gaze is clear, and your mind is calm. The mirror reflects a familiar image, but with new features. Your skin looks smoother, your eyes radiate vigor, and there is no usual morning heaviness. And this is not the result of a miraculous pill or an expensive procedure, but the fruit of knowledge tested for millennia. This knowledge originated not within the walls of laboratories, but in the solitude of the mountains, where silence reigns, where you can hear the breath of nature and observe how living beings are renewed if they are not disturbed. It was there, far from civilization, that monks studied the processes of aging and ways to slow them down for centuries. They did not focus on fighting wrinkles, but sought to understand the deep causes of aging in the body, learned to respect it, cleanse it, nourish it, and listen to its needs. Their bodies retained vitality, their faces radiated peace, and their speech was distinguished by a depth rarely found even in young people. In today's world, filled with information noise, people often forget the importance of listening to themselves. Haste, fatigue, and living on autopilot lead to wrinkles, aches, fatigue, insomnia, and irritability. All this is usually explained by age, but in reality, the reason lies in the loss of connection with oneself, in the disruption of the rhythm in which those who knew how to awaken the ability to recover lived. Just 7 days, and everyone can feel how the body responds with gratitude to the attention shown. It's not magic, but a return to the origins of yourself. If ever, looking in the mirror, the question arose, where did the person I once was disappear to? It is worth listening to this story, because perhaps it is time not just to exist, but to transform. Once, in a monastery lost among the mountain peaks, where the air is so clear that it seems to prolong the years on its own, a young wanderer sought guidance from a wise monk. His appearance spoke of exhaustion, shadows under his eyes, stiffness in his movements, a heart filled with anxiety. He confessed, "I feel premature old age creeping up unnoticed, as if I am losing a part of myself with each passing day." The elder looked at him not with sympathy, but with deep insight into the essence of the problem, and said, "The problem is not old age. You have simply given yourself entirely to a world that is not able to appreciate and preserve your essence. It's time to take yourself back." This initial step is not a set of rules, not a set of techniques or exercises, but awareness. The monks claimed, "The body is a sacred temple, but the mind is its key. If the key is covered with rust from vanity, worries, and tension, then the temple begins to fall into disrepair." This is where their restoration began, with silence, not external, but internal. They abandoned everything that made them rush, compare themselves to others, and worry, going into a space where they could catch the signals of their own body. The narrative states that the first stages of the spiritual journey are devoted not to active actions, but to contemplative observation. It is argued that it is impossible to heal what is not understood, so seekers secluded themselves by rivers or in cells, immersing themselves in self-analysis. They focused on internal sensations, identifying sources of pain, tension, and hidden irritation. This process served as a kind of diagnosis, based not on instrument readings, but on subjective experiences. It is emphasized that true recovery begins not with external manifestations, but with the inner world, with the awareness of accumulated emotions, unsaid words, suppressed grievances, and endless bustle. The monks in question did not seek to eliminate wrinkles as such, but sought the deep causes that cause suffering to the body. The first step to rejuvenation, in their opinion, was not to use miraculous means, but to create a pause, stop, and immerse oneself in oneself. In silence, a person gains the ability to hear previously muffled voices, the true needs of their being. It is argued that within each of us lies a huge potential for renewal, which can be revealed if we stop hindering it. They tell of one traveler who, upon arriving at the monastery, before proceeding with any herbal infusions or breathing exercises, spent 2 days in complete silence. On the 3rd day, the elder announced his readiness for purification, noting that changes had already begun due to the fact that for the first time in a long time, the traveler listened to himself. It is emphasized that in all ages, purification began not with physical procedures, but with conscious intention. The monks believed that it was impossible to renew a body poisoned by negative thoughts, emotions, and harmful substances that are often considered normal food. They adhered to the belief that each cell carries not only physical memory, but also the energy imprint of what has been experienced and consumed. Therefore, before empowering the body to renew itself, it's necessary to relieve it of this burden. This wasn't akin to asceticism or harsh abstinence. Rather, it felt like a gentle yet thorough shedding of weight, like removing rain-soaked clothes after a long journey in a downpour. The first steps toward renewal involved consuming warming infusions, eating light, easily digestible foods, embracing silence, and mastering a specific breathing rhythm that activated the body's self-cleansing processes. Modern science is only beginning to explore these phenomena, while wise monks proclaimed, "Food consumed without attention turns into poison. Water taken without gratitude loses its life-giving force, and breath not consciously observed becomes merely a meaningless habit." Therefore, they received each sip of liquid with reverence, as if it were a healing potion. In the morning, they drank warm water with lemon juice and a pinch of turmeric. During the day, they enjoyed an infusion of ginger root. And before bed, they soothed themselves with warm milk and natural honey. All of these drinks not only warmed the body, but also gently promoted toxin elimination, relieved internal tension, and supported the liver and intestines, helping them resume their subtle but vital work of restoring the body. Most importantly, they ate not for mere satiation, but to restore vitality. It was an entirely different philosophy, where food transformed into a sacred ritual, akin to prayer. Rejecting heavy, hard-to-digest foods, refined sugar, alcoholic beverages, and products devoid of life energy was seen not as a restriction, but as an act of self-care. Do not nourish that which leads to destruction, their wisdom dictated. It's truly astonishing how such immense power lies hidden beneath outward simplicity. When the human body rids itself of all excess, it finally receives the necessary resources for recovery. As soon as the liver ceases its exhausting struggle to process harmful toxins, it immediately begins to cleanse the blood. Once the intestines are freed from decaying food remnants, the immune system actively begins to recover, and one suddenly feels a surge of energy after eating, even a certain inner radiance. Outwardly, it may seem that nothing has changed, but internally, the renewal process is in full swing. It's at this moment that the body seems to express gratitude for the attention shown, when each organ sighs with relief. This is the true beginning of rejuvenation, which manifests not in the external reflection in the mirror, but in the inner sensation of returning to oneself. The monk's morning traditionally began not with worldly hustle and bustle, but with silence, deep breathing, and the consumption of a special drink they called living water. This wasn't just a thirst-quenching beverage, but a true elixir of awakening, a sacred ritual that began each day of renewal and rejuvenation. Just imagine, a person awakens, their body still slowly emerging from sleep. And at that moment, they give it not a stimulating coffee, not heavy bread, and not haste, but healing warmth. The first liquid the monks' bodies received carried not only physical benefits, but also deep spiritual meaning. It wasn't just a gesture, but a true message. You are not alone. I am here, and today everything will be all right. The recipe for this morning ritual seems elementary, but it's in this simplicity that its amazing power lies. Take warm water, add the vital juice of half a lemon, a small piece of fresh ginger, a pinch of golden turmeric, and, if desired, a drop of natural honey. All of this is thoroughly mixed, transforming into a healing elixir that should be drunk slowly, with a feeling of deep gratitude. Ginger, like an inner fire, warms the body and stimulates blood circulation. Turmeric acts as a powerful shield, reducing inflammatory processes. And honey, like the nectar of life, nourishes and softens. Together, these components awaken the dormant metabolism, activate detoxification processes, and kickstart cellular regeneration. However, the impact of this drink is not limited to biochemical reactions. Ancient sages believed that every morning is a unique chance to start anew, to rewrite the script of one's life. And if this day begins with self-care, then a person, like a skilled programmer, sets a positive tone for the whole day, tuning themselves to healing and recovery. Simply by drinking this beverage, one can feel it penetrating every cell of the body, warming it from within, cleansing it of all that is superfluous, and seemingly breathing new life into it. In this moment of unity with oneself, there is no room for bustle and anxiety, only the person and their body, once again tuned to the same frequency. In just a few days of consistently performing this ritual, amazing transformations begin to occur. Puffiness subsides, the gaze becomes clearer and more open, and the skin acquires a healthy and fresh appearance. But most importantly, a sense of inner energy and vitality emerges, as if someone turned on a bright light inside. This isn't about short-term stimulation or an artificial boost of energy, but about restoring personal energy potential. This is the exceptional value of the morning elixir. It's not just an ordinary drink, but a daily reminder that every person deserves to start their day with care and respect for themselves. Imagine if someone said that age is determined not by the numbers on a passport, but by the depth and quality of breathing. How much could that change your self-perception? Ancient monks deeply understood that breathing is the link between the physical body and the mind. This invisible process is the foundation of life force and has a tremendous impact on overall well-being. Shallow, intermittent, and anxious breathing accelerates the aging process, as each breath should fill you with energy and vitality, not exacerbate fatigue. In monasteries, breathing was given sacred significance. It was seen not only as a physiological function, but also as a powerful tool for renewal and restoration. Every morning and evening, monks dedicated themselves to special breathing exercises, which today can be interpreted as a way to regain control over one's state. There was nothing complicated or ostentatious in this practice, only silence, deep attention, and a clear rhythm. They slowly inhaled air through their nose, counting to 4, then held their breath for the same count, after which they slowly exhaled, also counting to 4, and paused. This method, known as square breathing, not only calmed the mind. Constant tension, increased anxiety, and sleep disturbances have a devastating effect on hormonal balance, promote premature aging of cells, lead to adrenal fatigue, and hinder tissue repair processes. However, breathing is a powerful means of counteracting these negative factors. It can stop the unwanted fight or flight response, activating the heal and repair mode in the body. Ancient sages claimed that shallow breathing means a shallow existence. Deep breathing, on the other hand, allows you to return to your true self. They viewed breathing exercises not just as a set of techniques, but as a way of conscious presence in the moment, allowing you to feel your body without unnecessary haste. Surprisingly, it is after such practices that processes usually associated with youth are triggered. Skin regeneration is activated, sleep is normalized, memory is improved, and inflammation levels are reduced. This happens because the body, freed from the need for constant protection, switches to self-repair, as if thanking you for the opportunity to breathe freely. You can start small, just 5 minutes a day. It is enough to seclude yourself in a quiet place and focus on the sensations, how the air enters, lingers, and exits. It is important to do this not to achieve any goals, but simply to remember what it means to live in harmony with yourself. Monks did not discover miracles, but reminded us of the simplest and most important thing that we forget daily: breathing as a path to oneself. Similarly, when a person stops mindlessly consuming food and begins to eat consciously with a specific intention, significant changes occur in their inner world. In ancient monasteries, food was seen as a source of life energy, not just as a means of filling the stomach. One of the most powerful tools for maintaining youth and health was fasting, which was seen not as a punitive measure, but as a manifestation of deep respect for one's body. Modern society often experiences a fear of hunger, suggesting that skipping a meal is stressful for the body. However, monks, with their wisdom, understood that sometimes the best way to recover is not to overload the digestive system, but to allow it to rest. They practiced what is now called intermittent fasting, but for them, it was not a fleeting fashion trend, but a way to listen to the rhythms of nature and their own body. In monastic life, food was taken twice a day, the first time after morning meditation and physical activity, and the second time before sunset. No evening meals, no continuous snacking. Each meal was accompanied by a feeling of gratitude and deep attention, as if it were the last piece in life. Why is that? Because when a person eats mindfully, the body actively produces the necessary enzymes. Insulin levels stabilize, the process of nutrient absorption improves, and even the level of inflammation decreases. It is during the periods between meals that the body begins its amazing work. Without expending energy on digesting food, it directs it to the destruction of old cells, the removal of weak ones, and the renewal of tissues. This process, known in modern science as autophagy, was awarded the Nobel Prize, but monks knew about its existence intuitively, thanks to centuries of practice and observation of their bodies. At first, this lifestyle may seem like a difficult test. It is possible to experience various emotional states, feelings of annoyance, and even some anxiety. This is because food for a person performs not only the function of saturation, but also serves as a source of comfort, an ingrained habit, and a way of compensation. And when this support is abandoned, everything that has long been hidden under the mask of sweets and snacks rises to the surface. However, it is at this moment that the real work begins, aimed not so much at physical transformation as at overcoming addictions. The result of this work is liberation. After a few days, the body adapts to the new conditions, and a person begins to wake up without feeling hungry or heavy. Throughout the day, mental clarity becomes more pronounced, and sleep becomes light and deep. It is important to learn to perceive your body not as an object that requires constant nutrition and treatment, but as a wise mechanism that has the ability to self-repair and maintain youth. The main thing is not to interfere with its natural processes. One of the most underestimated periods in a person's life is the last hour before going to bed. At this time, many people automatically reach for their phone, finish off the leftovers of food, indulge in anxious thoughts about the past day, or make plans for tomorrow. However, the monks treated this time as a sacred period of restoration, believing that what a person does in this last hour affects not only the quality of sleep, but also the feeling with which he wakes up in the morning, younger or older. The evening routine in their monastery was simple, but it was verified to the smallest detail, as if polished over centuries. The first thing that happened was a disconnection from the raging outside world. The light was dimmed, the sounds subsided, and conversations were minimized. 60 minutes before going to bed, they stopped all activity, even reading was put aside. Within the walls of the monastery, this was called returning to yourself, implying a rejection of the flow of information and worldly bustle in order to immerse oneself in one's own sensations. They took a bath with warm water infused with medicinal herbs, such as chamomile or lavender, inhaled the soothing aromas of cedar or sandalwood, and then tasted a special drink, warm almond milk, seasoned with turmeric, cloves, and topped with a drop of honey. This elixir not only warmed the body, but also had a mild soothing effect on the nervous system, strengthened the immune system, and supported the liver and nervous system as a whole. But even this miraculous drink was not the main element of the ritual. The greatest importance was attached to the process of falling asleep. The inhabitants of the monastery never allowed themselves to fall asleep, burdened with distressing thoughts. Each night began with a short but effective practice of letting go. Closing their eyes, they mentally went through the events of the past day, looking for reasons to be grateful. Even if the day was difficult and everything went awry, there was always something to cling to: the rays of the chair, morning sun, the manifestation of one's own willpower, the sincere smile of a loved one. And then there was silence, absolute and all-encompassing, without intrusive background noise, flickering screens, and internal tension. All that remained was even breathing, a feeling of peace, and a smooth immersion into the realm of Morpheus, where the body did not languish from struggle, but restored its strength. And it was in this blessed silence that the real magic began. Skin cells were renewed, hormonal levels returned to normal, and internal organs received the much-needed energy for regeneration. In the modern world, gripped by the pursuit of eternal youth, people often turn to cosmetics and complex procedures, but ancient monastic practices offer a different perspective on the secret of unfading beauty. The monks believed that true rejuvenation begins from within, in the depths of consciousness and body, and the key element of this process is deep, restorative sleep. But such sleep does not come by itself. It requires a special ritual, conscious silence, and deep respect for one's physical condition. The monks treated the night not as the end of the day, but as the beginning of the process of healing and restoration. They understood, that by learning to end the day in harmony with themselves, each morning could be greeted as a renewed, calm, and vibrant individual. The 7-day cycle in monastic tradition symbolized a period of renewal, a transition from purification to restoration, from worldly hustle to inner stillness, and from fatigue to a return to oneself. It wasn't just a set of prescriptions, but a holistic path where each step served as a reminder of the value of life and the importance of caring for one's body, which was seen not as a burden, but as a faithful ally. By providing the body with the necessary space and care, one receives strength, youthfulness, and peace of mind in return. While radical changes shouldn't be expected in just 1 week, positive shifts can be felt almost immediately, most importantly in overall well-being. Morning awakenings will be filled not with heaviness, but with a lively interest in the new day. Skin will become softer and more elastic, the gaze clear and open, and the voice deep and confident. One will find that petty irritations have faded into the past, sleep has become deeper and more restful, and a soothing silence has settled within. It is in this silence, in harmony with oneself and the surrounding world, that the body gains the opportunity to truly rejuvenate, unlocking its inner potential for health and longevity. This isn't about magic or supernatural forces, but about biological processes activated by a mindful approach. Every sip of revitalizing drink, every breath, every evening spent away from screens, these are small steps that, as they accumulate, transform not only hormonal balance and skin condition, but also the perception of one's own age. There's no longer a need for a desperate chase after fleeting youth. Instead, there's a return to one's true essence, which is genuine rejuvenation. The choice remains with each individual. One can ignore this information and continue living as before. But one can also give themselves a chance, spending just 7 days, without excuses or haste, simply to feel how the body responds with gratitude, when breathing becomes free and deep, and the mirror reflects not exhaustion, but inner strength. If there's a willingness to change, it's worth starting small, with a morning ritual that includes a warm drink and a deep breath, with an evening hour of silence and peace. And one can be amazed at how quickly life begins to respond to the attention shown, because within each person lies not old age, but life itself. Knowledge about rejuvenation is not a privilege of the chosen few, not an unattainable luxury, but a path of returning to oneself, to one's body, to silence, to the respect that may have been lacking for so long, not from others, but from oneself. Monks did not strive for eternal youth. They simply lived in harmony with rhythms that restore rather than exhaust. It's worth trying, and the body will surely respond. Everything needed to look better, feel deeper, and live longer is already within. Consider embarking on a personal 7-day experiment to renew your perception of life. It is recommended to start small. Dedicate each morning to 1 beneficial drink, practice mindful breathing, and dine without the distraction of screens. The goal of this experiment is not to prove the effectiveness of the methods, but rather to feel the connection with the present moment, to realize one's own presence and potential for renewal.